Dubai, February 22nd, 2026. In a stunning global spectacle that will be remembered as one of the most jaw-dropping rebukes in recent royal history, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, faced a geopolitical humiliation that threatens to dismantle every international ambition he has harboured for years. Reports from the Arabian Sentinel, later confirmed by the Telegraph, reveal that the younger son of King Charles III was intercepted at Dubai International Airport, his plans violently derailed in a moment that left observers around the world gasping. It happened at the DXB terminal in the early hours of Sunday, February 24th, 2026, London time. The footage of Harry being halted at the Saudi border on February 22nd spread like wildfire, sending shockwaves through global newsrooms and social media feeds alike. Panic, disbelief, and incredulous commentary dominated headlines. The situation escalated rapidly. Both the Daily Mail and The Sun reported an emergency summit at Sandham, during which King Charles II reportedly delivered a verbal proclamation severing Harry from royal privileges, a move that sent reverberations deep into the heart of the monarchy. The king's condemnation was sharp and unyielding. Observers say he traded decades of accumulated dignity for oil-fueled ambition and the company of shadowy figures, leaving no path for reconciliation. There would be no rescue, no statement of support, and no return to grace. Yet the decisive action that solidified Harry's downfall was reportedly taken by Prince William. While Harry was desperately pleading with border officials, William was concluding a high-stakes diplomatic tour in Riyadh, reinforcing alliances with the very officials Harry had attempted to bypass. Kensington Palace released a chillingly brief statement, echoing like a final verdict. The Prince of Wales remains focused on state-to-state relations and the integrity of the Commonwealth. Private ventures undertaken by individuals under the guise of royal titles are neither sanctioned nor recognised by this House. It was not a mere family dispute anymore. This was an official diplomatic excommunication. As Harry's so-called Amber Crude dream dissolved into a border nightmare, the King's position could not have been clearer. The Bank of Dad was not merely closed, it had been welded shut. The palace immediately severed all courtesy channels with the Duke, viewing his attempt to leverage the royal name for a private oil monopoly as the ultimate betrayal of the monarchy's diplomatic neutrality. But make no mistake, this was no routine security check. It was a calculated high-level diplomatic lockout. Sources within the General Directorate of Residency and Foreigners Affairs, GDRFA, revealed that Harry arrived expecting the red carpet treatment he had once enjoyed as a frontline royal. Instead, he faced stone-faced officials who informed him that his special entry visa, allegedly sponsored by a shadowy figure in the Saudi energy sector, had been revoked for a grueling 4-hour stretch. Once hailed as the world's most eligible bachelor, Harry found himself trapped in a glass-walled detention suite, frantically calling Riyadh contacts who never answered. By 4 a.m., the decree was final. Entry denied, citing reputational risk to the state and lack of diplomatic clearance. Harry was forced back onto his jet, not toward the luxury of a Saudi palace, but toward the harsh reality of his collapsing American life. What drove this calamity? This was no vacation. Investigations reveal that Harry had travelled to the Middle East to finalise the audacious Amber Crude initiative. Leaked, encrypted messages obtained by insiders suggest that throughout late 2025 and early 2026, Harry had been meticulously positioning himself as a global energy power broker, leaving behind the victimhood narrative that defined his Netflix era. He had pivoted into a much more dangerous persona, the self-made oil tycoon. Reports suggest that he told associates in London and California that he was done with royal allowances, done with crumbs from the crown. His goal? Secure a multi-billion-dollar stake in a non-state sanctioned oil processing venture in the Rub al Khali, the vast, forbidding, empty quarter of Saudi Arabia. This wasn't a mere business pursuit. Harry was attempting to rival the wealth of the British monarchy itself, driven by a reckless ambition to demonstrate that he could buy and sell the Windsor estate 10 times over. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of this saga is Harry's complete disregard for his duties as a father. Sources in Montecito suggest that in his relentless pursuit of the Saudi mirage, Harry has effectively become a ghost in the lives lives of Archie and Lilette. Allegedly, he told confidants that the children were the palace's problem now, showing a chilling willingness to use his own offspring as collateral. Insiders further claim he attempted a trade with King Charles, leave the children in the UK with the royal household, and in return, gain freedom to pursue his Middle Eastern ambitions without interference. This is not the behaviour of a protective father. This is the act of a desperate gambler, willing to put his own children on the poker table to fund a lifestyle he can no longer sustain. Public outrage is palpable. How can a man who preached about generational healing and mental health so casually discard his own children to chase an oil-stained pipe dream in the desert? London's reaction has been swift and uncharacteristically direct. Buckingham Palace, which typically abides by never complain, never explain, has apparently had enough. King Charles III, already weighed down by the burdens of his reign and personal health battles, was reportedly rendered speechless with fury. A senior palace aide reportedly told The Times that the king sees Harry's actions as the ultimate profanation. Attempting to leverage the crown to bypass international energy laws is not just a private matter, it is a threat to the strategic interests of the United Kingdom. Prince William, however, moved from frustration to active containment. Diplomatic whispers suggest that the non-official warning sent to Dubai and Saudi authorities came directly from his office. William, the future king, positioned himself as the shield of the monarchy, reportedly telling a close circle, "I will not let my brother's delusions of grandeur burn down the alliances this family has built over centuries." His intervention was not out of malice, but necessity, to protect UK-GCC relations from Harry's amateurish, impulsive manoeuvring. But how did Harry end up in this trap? Our investigation traces it back to the summer of 2025 aboard the Serene, a 439-foot Mediterranean super yacht. Surrounded by the scent of expensive cigars, the hum of offshore servers, and the glittering private bays of the Mediterranean, Harry was introduced to a figure known only as the architect, Al-Sayed, a middleman with deep, unofficial ties to the Saudi energy sector. Sayed fed Harry's insecurities, presenting him as a visionary sovereign capable of bypassing centuries of bureaucratic gatekeeping. The Amber Crude initiative wasn't just a business plan, it was a psychological trap. Sayed and his associates convinced Harry that the royal family had been holding him back, that he was destined to dominate the global oil market. And Harry, with no background in chemical engineering, trade law, or energy economics, fell for it. Hours were spent aboard yachts with yes-men toasting him as the king of crude. According to leaked Cayman Islands documents, Harry risked nearly 80% of his remaining liquid assets, including inheritance from Princess Diana and Netflix and Spotify payouts, pouring them into a venture that existed only on paper. He wasn't investing, he was the mark. And as he became obsessed with his desert empire, his parental duties didn't just slip, they were abandoned. Montecito insiders describe a chilling atmosphere in the Sussex residence. During the final months of 2025, while Meghan allegedly focused on pivoting her lifestyle brand, Harry was holed up in a bunker, screaming into encrypted satellite phones at 3 a.m., demanding updates on oil fields. When nannies raised concerns about the children, Harry's response was reportedly cold and dismissive. He treated the upbringing of Archie and Lilette as a logistical inconvenience, rather than a sacred responsibility. This is the man who once vowed to break the cycle of royal parenting. Yet here he was, planning to relocate to a fortified Dubai compound, leaving the children to be shuffled between staff and a distant grandfather in London. The sting of hypocrisy cuts the deepest. Prince Harry's carefully curated image as a devoted father has crumbled, exposed as nothing more than a convenient PR shield. In reality, he was poised to leave Archie and Lilette in the care of the very royal institution he had spent years publicly criticising, all so he could chase a billionaire fantasy that stroked his ego. The most damning evidence of Harry's reckless impulsivity lies not in tabloids, but in his total disregard for the strict Saudi Arabian mining and hydrocarbon laws. Laws any first-year business student would know are ironclad. Under Royal Decree number M120, ownership of all hydrocarbon resources is reserved entirely for the state. The idea that a foreigner, especially a controversial former royal, could buy or operate a private oil processing facility without direct signed authorization from the Ministry of Energy was, legally speaking, impossible. Yet Harry's architect and so-called friends assured him he was above the law because of his title. Blinded by self-importance, Harry believed them. He ignored repeated warnings from his UK legal team, who had prepared a 50-page memorandum outlining the sheer impossibility of his plan. Harry's response? He fired them, branding the lawyers as palace agents sent to sabotage his success. This wasn't just poor judgment, it was a willful act of self-destruction. By January 2026, the walls were closing in. The Amber Crude initiative demanded increasing operational fees, and Harry's bank accounts were hemorrhaging cash. Obsessed and possessed, he believed that once he touched down in Dubai and crossed into Saudi territory, gold would start flowing, and every critic would be silenced. He didn't realise that while he was sipping champagne on yachts, Prince William and the British Foreign Office were already 2 steps ahead. Quiet warnings had been issued, and Gulf states, where stability and tradition outweigh all else, watched Harry's erratic behaviour with growing alarm. To them, he wasn't a partner, he was a liability, a loose cannon who had betrayed his own king. Dubai International Airport, February 10th, 2026. The tension inside the Al Marlou VIP terminal was palpable. Prince Harry, dressed in a sharp linen suit but looking dishevelled from the long flight from California, expected a swift escort to a waiting motorcade. Instead, he was greeted with a red flag on the biometric scanner. According to a senior source at Dubai Immigration, Harry's business investment visa, the very document promised as a golden ticket by his architect, had been flagged for immediate administrative review. This was no technical error. It was a deliberate diplomatic blockade. For 4 excruciating hours, Harry was confined to a secure private lounge. Witnesses report hearing the Duke shouting into his phone, "Do they know who I am? Call the ministry! Call the Prince's office!" But for the first time in his life, being Prince Harry didn't open doors, it closed them. The sheiks he had toasted with aboard Mediterranean yachts months earlier were suddenly unreachable, their offices issuing the uniform reply, "The Excellency is in a meeting and cannot be disturbed." What Harry did not know was that the Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC, had been quietly compiling a dossier on his behaviour since 2020. His litigious nature, his public betrayals of family secrets, and above all, his erratic finances in the Middle East painted him as a dangerous liability. Loyalty is the ultimate currency in these circles, and Harry, seen as a man who had betrayed his own father and brother for Netflix payouts, was a reputational risk of the highest order. Authorities asked themselves, if he could betray the King of England, what could he do to us if a deal went south? Al Sayed, the architect who had promised Harry the world, was nowhere to be found. Sources indicate he had already been advised by local authorities to sever ties to avoid being ensnared in the diplomatic fallout. Harry was not merely denied entry, he was being excommunicated from the elite corridors of Middle Eastern influence. As hours ticked by, Harry's frustration morphed into desperation. He attempted to bypass border officials, calling King Charles III in hopes of a last-minute intervention. But the king, steadfast in his resolve to protect the monarchy's dignity, refused to pick up. In the most damning moment, Harry reportedly tried to leverage his children, claiming he was in the region to secure Archie and Lilette's future, suggesting any delay would traumatise them. It was a transparent ploy to weaponise his fatherhood against border guards, who remained unimpressed. At 4:45 a.m., a senior officer entered the lounge and delivered the final verdict. "Your Highness, your presence is not conducive to the current diplomatic climate. You are requested to return to your point of origin." Harry was escorted back to his private jet, not by a royal guard, but by airport security. As the plane lifted off, heading back toward the mounting debts and crumbling reputation he left behind in California, the full weight of reality set in. Millions had been poured into a green-gold dream that never existed. Children were abandoned for a mirage. Family ties were insulted beyond repair, and the people who had promised him fortune had treated him like an unwanted tourist. The desert had spoken. Respect is earned, not inherited, and once betrayed, it is never returned. Prince Harry wasn't merely returning to a home in crisis, he was returning to a balance sheet in terminal decline. Investigations by financial experts tracking the Sussex offshore accounts reveal catastrophic mismanagement. By the end of 2025, Harry had liquidated nearly 80% of his liquid net worth, including inheritance from Princess Diana, which he had long claimed was a safety net to protect his family. Sources close to his former financial advisors in London report repeated red zone warnings were ignored. Harry moved nearly $25 million into escrow accounts controlled by Amber Crude shell companies, desperate to secure founder status in a venture that never existed. But he wasn't just spending his own money. By February 2026, the $14 million Montecito mansion, a supposed symbol of freedom, had been leveraged through secondary loans to fund his oil ambitions. He was gambling not only with cash, but with the roof over his children's heads. Predatory lenders began closing in. These were not friendly institutions. They were aggressive, high-stakes financiers accustomed to dealing with clients of far greater stability than Harry. Tension in Montecito reached a breaking point. Staff members, many of whom have resigned due to unpaid wages, reported shouting matches over the phone audible from the driveway. Harry was no longer a calm advocate for mental health. He had become a frantic debtor, begging for extensions as interest rates on loans ballooned. At the peak of delusion, he reportedly offered future royal inheritance as collateral, pledging money from a family he had spent years publicly attacking. Public fury reached new heights as further details emerged regarding the Archie and Lilette trust funds. Insiders claim that in late 2025, under extreme financial pressure, Harry diverted funds intended for his children's future to cover the operational costs of Mediterranean yacht meetings. This was the ultimate betrayal of his protective father persona, a man lecturing the world on legacy while dismantling the financial security of his own children. Neighbours in Montecito report the Sussex aura has vanished. The constant stream of A-list visitors has dried up. Figures like Oprah Winfrey and Ellen DeGeneres, once ardent champions of the couple, are nowhere in sight. In California, reputation is measured in both scandal and bank account balance. Harry, as of February 24, 2026, is the most radioactive man in the state. Real estate insiders suggest the Montecito mansion is quietly being prepared for a distressed sale. Annual upkeep of over $700,000 is no longer sustainable, and the once proud symbol of freedom now looms as a monument to reckless ambition and familial betrayal. The man who once dreamed of conquering the global energy market now faces a fate no title can protect him from. The security detail he once claimed as a basic human right, his shield against perceived threats, may soon be unaffordable. The would-be billionaire, the man who imagined himself the king of global energy, is now confronting the consequences of choices made with reckless abandon. High-interest debt, failed ventures, and a reputation so tarnished that even the most desperate PR firms in London have refused his calls. King Charles III has reportedly issued a formal financial severance decree. The monarchy will not bail out Harry, nor will it intervene to save the sprawling Montecito mansion. Any financial support will strictly be limited to the welfare of Archie and Lilette, and only if they are returned to the United Kingdom to be raised under royal supervision. There is no safety net for Harry's audacious gambles in the deserts of Saudi Arabia, nor for the millions squandered on a venture fueled by ego rather than expertise. The message could not be clearer. The Crown will not cover Harry's mistakes, and the debts, losses, and public humiliation are entirely his to bear. Now, Harry stands at a crossroads. He can swallow his pride and return to London as a humbled son, seek to repair fractured family relationships, and salvage what little dignity remains. Or he can continue spiraling into the financial black hole he has created, risking total ruin and public disgrace. The Amber Crude scandal, which made headlines across continents, is now mirrored by an equally dramatic domestic shift. While Harry languished in a Dubai airport lounge, Meghan Markle was far from idle. Sources confirm Meghan engaged in emergency strategy sessions with a high-powered Los Angeles crisis management team. The mandate was simple: total decoupling from Harry's failing business ventures. For years, the Sussexes presented themselves as a united front, a two-headed dragon confronting the world. But as Harry's $25 million disaster escalated, Meghan reportedly recognized her survival depended on creating distance from her husband's catastrophic decisions. In a move that stunned insiders, Meghan's publicist began seeding narratives portraying her as the rational, long-suffering partner who had repeatedly cautioned Harry against the Middle Eastern oil venture. This is a classic Hollywood pivot. The ship is sinking, and Meghan is launching the first lifeboat, even if it means pushing Harry overboard. The sophistication of this maneuver cannot be understated. It is calculated, measured, and designed to preserve her brand, her public image, and her future opportunities, all while leaving Harry exposed to the full force of financial and reputational fallout. Meanwhile, a dormant volcano has erupted at Buckingham Palace. Allegations of workplace bullying, long buried in royal archives, have resurfaced, sparked by the sheer weight of new claims from former staff of Harry's failed Al Energy Shell company. Reports describe 3 a.m. screaming matches, employees pushed to mental breaking points, and a climate of fear reminiscent of the controversies from Kensington Palace. The narrative that Meghan was solely a victim of palace politics in 2018 is now crumbling under the weight of these new revelations. By mid-February 2026, the Sussex brand had reached absolute zero in Hollywood. Studios and streaming platforms that once competed for exclusives are now quietly blacklisting the couple. Financial contagion is a key reason. No studio wants exposure to liens or claims arising from Harry's Amber Crude debts. Loyalty is another. Hollywood operates on trust, connections, and deliverables. What could Harry bring to the table now? Nothing but baggage and legal entanglements. A senior executive at a major streaming service remarked off the record, "We didn't sign up for an oil laundering drama. We signed up for a prince and a duchess. Now, we just get a debtor and a PR crisis." Even the Sussexes' most loyal celebrity allies have gone silent. Invitations to the Oscars rescinded, Met Gala seats vanished. They are now celebrities without a kingdom, entrepreneurs without capital, and influencers without influence. The welfare of Archie and Lilette has emerged as a public concern. Reports from Montecito paint a heartbreaking picture of a household fractured by obsession, fear, and survival. Harry, consumed with salvaging his financial ruin, and Meghan, consumed with rebranding herself, have allegedly left the children in the care of a rotating team of security personnel and remaining domestic staff. There is no stability, only the struggle to maintain functionality. Public outrage continues to build. How can Harry continue to preach about intergenerational healing while his own children are reduced to pawns in a PR game? The horse and rider impulsivity that defined Harry's youth has transformed into reckless, cold-hearted negligence. He has traded the safety and peace of his children for a seat on a yacht that sailed away months ago. Prince William observed Meghan's decoupling with grim satisfaction, advising the king to ignore narratives portraying her as a victim. Meghan, equally accountable for the household collapse, is pivoting to secure her own financial and social survival. William reportedly made it clear that the black hole Harry created financially will not be patched by royal funds to rescue Meghan's image. The monarchy will protect the heirs, Archie and Lilette. The parents are entirely on their own. As Harry returned to the US following his Dubai humiliation, he did not return to a hero's welcome or spousal support. Instead, he faced a battlefield of legal threats, predatory lenders, and relentless public scrutiny. Meghan, reportedly already drafting her exit strategy, has set the stage for a full decoupling of their lives and brands. Montecito, once a symbol of luxury and freedom, has become a distressed asset, a stark representation of failed ambition. The sun sets over the Santa Ynez Mountains. The lights inside the Sussex mansion are dim. No gala celebrations, no Netflix cameras, no high-level strategy meetings, only silence. The Amber Crude tragedy has reached its devastating conclusion. Financial records indicate the final of Harry's offshore business entities has filed for Chapter 7 liquidation. Millions of dollars lost in the Saudi desert are gone forever. Consumed by a system Harry was too arrogant and naive to navigate. The Duke of Sussex, once a man with the world at his feet, has become a global cautionary tale, a study in how youthful rebellion, unchecked ego and impulsivity can lead to total systemic collapse. The Dubai rejection and the silent treatment from Riyadh were never mere logistical errors. They were a clear signal. In regions where tradition and loyalty are sacred, Harry's attempt to leverage royal blood for personal gain was viewed as the ultimate betrayal. The sheikhs did more than deny entry. They erased his relevance. Without the crown's backing, Harry is simply a man with a famous name and an empty bank account. He traded centuries of royal prestige for a 10% stake in a phantom refinery, only to learn that in the real world, a spare without a kingdom is nothing more than a ghost. The collateral damage is undeniable. Archie and Lilette have been caught in the crossfire of their father's narcissism. Harry's willingness to offload his children to the palace for business silence, combined with his failure to provide a stable home in California, has sparked public outrage. The man who championed mental health awareness has left his own family in turmoil. At 41, he remains impulsive, defiant, and obsessed with validation rather than responsibility. He did not break the cycle of royal dysfunction, he accelerated it toward a cliff. As of February 24, 2026, the Sussex situation is clear. Harry, financially ruined, internationally exiled, and facing potential legal action from predatory lenders. Meghan Markle, finalizing a solo brand strategy that distances her from Harry's toxic business failures. The monarchy, stronger and unified under King Charles III and Prince William, having successfully quarantined the Sussex contagion. The lesson of the Amber Crude tragedy is merciless. Respect cannot be demanded if it is not given. Futures cannot be built on the ashes of past mistakes. No amount of entitlement or royal proximity can override the power of centuries-old institutions. Harry's billionaire oil dream ended not with a bang, but with a whimper in a Dubai airport lounge. He is no longer a revolutionary, no longer a royal, no longer a player on the world stage. He is a footnote in Windsor history, a warning to future generations. The spare must never mistake proximity to power for power itself. The world said no, the desert said no, and finally, the history books are closing on the man who thought he could buy his way back to the throne he walked away from. For those following the full unravelling of Harry's Amber Crude ambitions, the dramatic Montecito fallout, and the lessons for the royal family, make sure to stay informed, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for comprehensive coverage of every twist in this royal and financial saga. Every angle, every insider report, every devastating revelation, right at your fingertips.